Hi everybody, Illman and Matt Bernier, the DRFBets Race of the Day for Wednesday, May the 8th, race number 8 at Delaware Park. We're going 1 mile and 70 yards. It's an entry-level allowance race for 3-year-olds and up. Remember, DRFBets members play the race of the day this month. Bet $7 to win on any horse in any race of the day in May. If your selection finishes second or third, you get your money back. Learn more at promos.drf.com. Let's meet the field for Wednesday's race of the day. Of course, you can access free formulator past performances on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. Download them, handicap along with us. We'll take the field in post position order, beginning with this coupled entry, the number 1 Social Stranger. Matt, last victory came for a $5,000 beaten tag, listed as a vet scratch on April the 24th at Penn National, but he's coming out of a pretty good race. He loves Delaware Park, and I'd like to see Trevor McCarthy aboard this 8-time winner.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the 8-time winner piece, because there's a number of horses in this race that are a little bit gun shy. They don't like to have their picture taken. They're ones to settle for minor awards as opposed to go to the winner's circle. Social Stranger, not the case. 8 for 45 lifetime. You're right. I think he might be a little bit on the class compromise side. He did face a decent enough field most recently, but I think you can't help but notice his running style as opposed to his coupled stablemate Worth His Salt. Worth His Salt is a horse that figures to be forwardly placed, while Social Stranger does his best running from the back. I would assume Social Stranger is going to be taken back, make that one run, and hope that the coupled stablemate helps ensure that there's some pace to run at.
The horse that finished first last time out in that race at Penn National came back to run second in a 1X. This level at Penn with an 81 buyer. Timeform US agrees with your take on the pace scenario as we throw up the pace projector, and there's the entry mate, Worth His Salt, expected to make the lead. Worth His Salt scored 2 starts back in a 1-turn mile at Laurel. They tried to stretch him out at this level last time out, and I think he caught a pretty good field. Deal Driven, the winner of that race, came back to run second with a 75 buyer at Parks. The runner-up came back to run second at Laurel with an 85, and then second at Parks with an 82. So a solid field, a solid fig 2 starts back, and he's won at Delaware. Maybe if he sneaks loose, he can make them pay, although being coupled with the other horse kind of may hurt the price.
The other thing that I'm a little bit concerned with Worth His Salt is I think he might be better at a slightly shorter distance. The 1-turn mile, certainly, but even a 1-mile distance at Delaware as opposed to this mile 70 may not sound like it's a big stretch out, but boy, you can get a little bit tired in that final 70 yards. I agree with you, though. If for some reason they totally let this one go, he could get brave.
The blinkers off experiment lasted exactly 1 race for the 2 Liberty Lane. He showed no speed in that race and didn't do much running. I'm going to take that race with a grain of salt and go back to his performance 2 starts back on a wet track where I thought he faced a pretty good field. That was a $16,000 starter handicap, and many of those horses had already gone past the non-winners of one other than condition that Liberty Lane will be facing on Wednesday. 2 horses came out of that race to win. The runner-up came back to finish third twice with buyers of 85 and 80. This horse can be forwardly placed, and while not exactly a win machine, 8 seconds from 28 lifetime starts, he's going to be a price. My one concern is that Alex Cintran on the overnight was named on both. He lands on the 8 aspect.
Well, I think you brought up a good point. While this one does have a little bit of a seconditis feel to him a little bit, but he's run well at Delaware in the past. He's run second 4 times from 6 lifetime starts, and you brought up the big thing. If he can be a little bit closer to the pace, and perhaps the pace projector is a little bit off, I think there's a chance that Liberty Lane could be the one closest to the 1A. And if the 1A, for some reason, either can't see out the distance or the pace is a little bit more moderate, maybe Liberty Lane can get first jump on everybody else.
The 3 Linda's Nekia is in very good form. She has won and finished second in his last 3 races. The problem is that the buyer speed figure is just too light.
Yeah, they're too light, and also, the graduation 3 starts back, that was against maiden $10,000 claimers, going a 1-turn mile. I don't know about the added ground or this class hike.
Horse just doesn't have a lot of speed either, doesn't even make the pace projector. He's listed as a deep closer. The number 4 is Tattered. This horse once sold for $225,000, still seeking his 2nd lifetime win. Lots of second place efforts. Plus, we haven't seen this horse in about, 5.5 months. But he comes out of an okay race at Parks. The winner came back to run second with a 70 buyer. The runner-up came back to run third with an 83, but then shipped to New York and beat New York bred non-winners of 2 others with an 88 buyer. The question is the layoff.
The layoff, and also I do look at this horse and say, it's hard to argue and ignore the fact that sure, the horse is 1-for-1 at Delaware Park, but that race came in an off the turf event, and that's something that you always want to keep an eye on. If you beat some turf horses on the main track, who'd you really beat? Against these type of horses, he's run fast enough races that make him competitive. Boy, 8 times second or third, that scares me. I want him underneath.
This is a very, very difficult race. My strongest opinion in here is I don't want to bet Vouch at a short price to win. He can easily win. Look at what the Beyer speed figures he earned as a 2-year-old, and in his only start on dirt at 3. He was third in the Remsen with an 81 Beyer at 2. He ran third against Magnum Moon with an 85 Beyer. Magnum Moon came back to win the Rebel with a 98, the Arkansas Derby with a 97, but Vouch disappeared after that Tampa Bay race for over a year. They brought him back on the turf, which I thought was kind of odd since he's by Yes It's True and does not have a lot of turf pedigree. Maybe it was just a prep for this spot. From a class perspective, he fits this race like a glove. Boy, I just don't know where he is from a fitness perspective. I respect Arnaud Delacour.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I also don't know just what to expect from this horse. Like you say, peculiar, they brought him back on the grass off of such a long layoff, and the fact that, look, he missed as much time as he did. He was a nice horse as a 2-year-old. I just don't know if he can still run at this point. There's a part of me that says if he were to win at 6-5, 7-5 here on Wednesday, so be it. I'll take my lumps and say it is what it is. I just don't want to be aboard and find out that he can't run anymore.
The 6 is Caladan, and the fact that Caladan went 3 for 4 at Delaware as a 2-year-old makes me think that trainer Anthony Pecoraro has had this day, this race in mind for a long time. We have not seen Caladan since November, when he raced at Laurel, and he ran just fine, finishing second behind favorite Olympic Village. This does seem like a bit of a tough spot to try older horses. He is only a 3-year-old, but his record at Delaware is enviable. I think this horse could get the right setup. He's adaptable from a pace perspective.
But you brought up the big question with this horse, not just the layoff, but boy, first start as a 3-year-old, taking on older horses. And let's also be honest, the horses he faced when he was a 2-year-old, none of those fields are spectacular. He beat some sort of middling types at the time, and now he is taking a significant jump up. I agree with you, though. I think he's a little bit more adaptable. If the pace is more moderate, he can be forwardly placed. If they do go early, he can go from the back and sort of make some sort of a sustained bid. He just feels a little bit like a fresh face, and again, he does like to win races. I think that's important.
Maybe Risque Rebel, the 7, will be forwardly placed as he stretches out from 7 furlongs around 2 turns in his 3rd start of the form cycle. He's only 2 for 20 lifetime, and both of his races have come in sort of restricted races. One against Pennsylvania breds back in October, the other against $30,000 maiden claimers back in 2017. He's going to have to run his lifetime best, I think, to take these down.
Yeah, I don't see a figure on the page right now that makes him one to recommend. I suppose maybe the stretch out in distance is going to help him. And like you say, he can be a little bit more forwardly placed. But based on the recent form, hard to recommend.
Haven't seen the 8 Aspect in about 5 months, but he did win his career debut over this surface going 5 furlongs, which makes me think he will run well fresh. I like the fact that Cintron had his choice between this horse and the 2 and chose the 8 Aspect. Last time out, over a sloppy track at Laurel, I'm not going to hold that race against him. He was in against some tough competition 2 starts back. This is his first start around 2 turns, his first start against older horses. 4-1 to me is a little light, but I think this horse will probably run pretty well.
If 4-1, I agree, is light. The big thing for me, I'm curious, where did the Pennsylvania nursery come from a buyer standpoint and from a time form standpoint? Because the 3 races surrounding that race, you're looking at low 50s and high 70, low 80 from a time form standpoint. Any of those numbers are not good enough. If he can somehow sort of call on that Pennsylvania nursery, I agree with you. I think he's got a big chance.
Always have to respect trainer Tim Ritchie bringing Aspect off of a layoff. Let's take a look at our picks for the Wednesday DRFBets Race of the Day. We're both going to try to beat Vouch. You're going with Caladan the 6. Again, this is a horse that likes Delaware Park, handles 2 turns, and I just have a feeling he's going to be a bigger, stronger version as a 4-year-old.
Yeah, and for me, a lot of it did come down to I felt like this race had a lot of horses that were a little bit more nibblers as opposed to winners. I like that this horse likes to win races. He does need to improve from a speed figure standpoint, no question about it. But first start as a 3-year-old, I'll take a chance. I don't like his morning line odds, though. If he's anywhere around there, I need him to float up considerably.
Give me numbers.
6, 4, 5, 2.
I'm going to take a shot with Liberty Lane in here. The 2 blinkers go back on. He can be forwardly placed. Maybe he's not a win machine. I think those $16,000 starter handicap seasons in against are comparable to the horses he's going to be facing at Delaware on Wednesday. Maybe the blinkers wake him up. Again, I don't like that the jock chose not to ride this horse, but Liberty Lane at the price he is 15-1. I'll take a little bit of a stab. 2-5-6-4 for me in the DRF Bets Wednesday race of the day. Bet it with a DRF Bets account. You won't be sorry. Bet $7 to win on any selection in this race. If your horse runs second or third, you get your money back. Promos.drf.com is where you go for all the details. Approximate post time for the 8th at Delaware on Wednesday, 4:24 Eastern. Best of luck.